Game week. Preseason game week, I guess we should probably preface by that. We're back. It is Colts Corner with myself, Kevin Bowen. Eddie Garrison is with me off to Baltimore. Actually, today we're recording this Monday morning, so we've got definitely a few training camp practices to recap since our last pod. And joint practice coming up Tuesday afternoon, preseason opener Thursday night. Eddie, how are you, sir?
I'm great. Happy back to school week, so some freedom for you and Mrs. Bowen during the day.
Well, yeah, no, that is fair. It's been a little bit of a tag team effort here the last couple of weeks, so yeah, just looking forward to both Max and Rosie back to school, and I believe IPS starts this week, so Indianapolis Public Schools back, and we are starting to inch. The crowds are getting a little bit smaller at Grand Park. Our weekday practices are virtually done.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, we only have 4 more practices. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 4 o'clock, I believe, start time each of those days. And then next Thursday is the joint practice with Green Bay. And that's it.
4 o'clock?
So, yeah, it really was a very front-loaded.
That's actually 3 o'clock. I take that back.
Camp. Is it 3 o'clock?
Yeah, 3 to 5.
Yeah, it's a very front-loaded camp. And I don't recall the Colts ever having a joint practice on the road this early in camp. You know, part of that is your preseason schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, in Baltimore, I think, they're a great evaluation. They're honestly the betting favorite right now.
Really?
To win the Super Bowl. I think it's slight over the likes of Kansas City and Philly and Buffalo. But, yeah, they are that. So, a little Chuck Pagano action, right? The defensive assistant with them. So, should be really a good evaluation point. Because, I will say this, Eddie. August sample sizes are small.
Yeah.
August sample sizes can be dangerous.
Yes, they can.
August sample sizes in recent years with the Colts have largely been pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Last year, Anthony Richardson got laughed at by the Cincinnati defense. Remember that in the joint practice?
Oh, yeah. Yep,
Literally laughing at him for running too much, for not being able to throw. Well, what happened? Exactly. I think back to a couple of years ago, I remember the Colts played their starters a little bit against Buffalo's backups.
I remember that.
In the preseason game, and the Buffalo backups whipped them. Now, again, we sat here and thought, well, it's just kind of one quarter. Who cares? And I get that the Lions went undefeated the year. They went 0-16 in the preseason, and the Colts oftentimes lost a ton in the Manning years in the preseason. But weirdly, with this franchise lately, the August, glimpses and flashes of it have led to some concrete info. So, again, I think with Baltimore and Green Bay, 2 good measuring sticks, and we'll see how this week and next week unfolds.
Yeah, that kind of echoes what Jim Bob Cooter and Lou Anarumo said on Saturday. Like, there was a ton of questions about, hey, how do you think, so-and-so has performed in camp this far? What do you like? What haven't you liked? This, that, and the other. And both of them essentially flat out said, it's hard to evaluate these when we're going up against each other, and you really kind of figure out what you got and who you got and what kind of season some players are going to have when these joint practices start rolling around. And they were both looking forward to Baltimore tomorrow.
Let's
Tuesday.
go back to Thursday night, Eddie. So we'll talk about Thursday's practice, Saturday, and Sunday here on this pod. Good amount of Twitter questions, and I would say kind of a variety. So looking forward to that as always. But I'll start here with the night practice Thursday. Tremendous idea by Shane Steichen. I mean, if that's your only experience in an NFL practice, you were like, wait, I need to come to more of these. It was entertaining. The lights feel, of course, brings just a little bit more of, I think, this is a cool atmosphere. But they did a ton of 11-on-11 work. I think Daniel Jones threw it 27 times in practice. I think Richardson threw it 19. Those are big, big numbers from both of those quarterbacks there. And I would say the QBs were really good, and Richardson had, some big-time fireworks. Now, just like yesterday's practice, the Colts wore down 3 of their top 5 corners in that practice. And, Eddie, my general thought on Richardson is this, and I thought the Shane Steichen quote after that Thursday practice kind of agreed with my sentiment. I largely think if you were to do a 1-week highlight reel of Anthony Richardson's first training camp week ever in the NFL, the 2024 first week of camp, and then this year, you would watch the 3, and if I made you go to the eye doctor and say, hey, which one's the clearest? You would say 2025.
Mm.
So I just think it's generally been cleaner, clearer, less turnover-worthy balls, less ground balls, less airmail hitting the rooster. Those sorts of egregious throws. There's been fewer of those. And then again, I thought last Thursday he sprinkled in some big-time deep balls. A.D. Mitchell and Ashton Doolin had really good camps. There was a moment in that Thursday night practice where Jones went first with the starters, and his drive kind of stalled out. I think Richardson was maybe incomplete trying to deep ball or deep-ish ball on his first play with then the second unit, and then he uncorked one to Doolin. And it was just one of those reminders of like, are you going to live with a dink and dunk? Or are you going to live with one that is more willing to throw it down the field and oftentimes more accurate?
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, there's risk, but that's the dilemma that Shane Steichen has to have. Are you going to live with a quarterback that's more predictable, Daniel Jones, or the one that, again, can maybe give you a little bit more feast or famine? That Thursday night practice, because Saturday was awful for the two QBs, but that had probably been a run of like 3 or 4 practices where both of them, not only I don't think had thrown a pick in 11 on 11, I don't recall many interceptable balls even, like drops from the defense. So that was probably the highlight of the night. I did think Latu, just like yesterday, I thought he led a pretty good pass rush effort there. And that was without Buckner. So if you go back to that Thursday night practice, Eddie, they probably didn't have their best player at every level.
Mm-hmm.
Buckner, Zaire Franklin, and then I guess you can debate on the back end who your best player is, but Javarius Ward. So, again, I thought A.D. Mitchell was really good. I thought Doolin was good. I thought Will Mallory continues to kind of stack some days together. Obviously, the highlight of that Thursday night was that Tyler Warren catch. And, I think when you watch it full speed, it really stands out, or really stood out to me at least. You just don't see tight ends make catches like that.
No.
You don't see tight ends have that type of body control in the air, falling to the ground, stab it with the left. Jalen Carlisle had beautiful coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful coverage. And it's funny, you go back and you watch it. I thought Cam McGrone's reaction in the background was great. Just the immediate hands to the helmet, like, I can't believe that just happened. Again, Carlisle's the right. When Daniel Jones threw it, I go, that's an overthrow. That might even be, picked. So that is something that stood out. But yeah, the corner injuries obviously starting to pile up a little bit. They've been down 3 of their 5 starters with that. Ooh, we got an or from the depth chart. Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson.
Oh, let's go. Is that the only or?
And I'm trying to scroll right now. Tanner Bortolini is your starter. I would say that's probably been what we've seen so far. No.
Danny Pinter missed practice on Saturday. Was he back out there on Sunday?
He was back yesterday. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that is your only or as I go through the whole depth chart. So that was something that I thought kind of stood out. And we saw them sign the 2 corners as well. We hadn't. That's usually a tell if Jalen Jones is going to miss time. Juju Brent's going to miss time. I think it was a little bit more severe on the Jalen Jones front than it was on the Juju Brent's front. But yeah, I thought it was a good night for the pressure guys. Guys that you would list as having a lot of pressure on the roster, i.e. Latu, i.e. Kwity Paye had a big play to end practice. Mitchell, those sorts of guys that you look at. So starting there, Eddie, I thought Thursday night, great night for entertainment practice, and also probably the most fireworks we've seen so far of camp.
Just a reminder, all of these notebook recaps are available at 1075thefan.com. And, of course, if you go to 1075thefan on Twitter, you can see Kevin's beautiful face because he just got a haircut and a fresh, clean shave.
I did. Much needed. Both of those things. Yes, much, much needed. Let's transition to Saturday. I thought probably the rockiest day of camp so far. It does seem like when they get into the red zone stuff.
I will take blame for that. I was there Saturday.
Yes, you were there, so you definitely saw it. You see guys struggle with throwing with anticipation, throwing with accuracy. The windows get tighter. Richardson was 3 of 10, was picked, I think, twice, or maybe should have been picked twice. I think Womack might have dropped 1. Kenny Moore definitely got him on 1. Daniel Jones was picked twice in 7 on 7. I thought Jones was less worse, if that is the right way to put it.
Yeah.
He had a 2-minute drive to end practice, I thought. It was a good note to end it, whereas Richardson, I think, stalled out.
They got a first down on the first play, then went 3 and out.
Yes, exactly. So, this is where you get into a little bit of like, all right, how much are you going to throw at red zone goal to go? I mean, to me, I've said this before, I think one of their greatest strengths as a football team this year will be running the ball in those short yardage moments. So I don't think they're just going to drop back and throw it as much as they did in that. Now, that might sound like I'm, trying to make excuses for the quarterbacks, but I do think there is some, kind of context around it.
I think play action becomes just a huge part of their offense in the red zone, too.
Right. And, again, they're going to move Warren all over, and they're going to do funky stuff with, tight ends and unbalanced lines and, quarterback run obviously is going to be a huge, huge part of it. So I think that is all necessary context when you talk about that. But nonetheless, it was a really poor day for those guys. Ward was back. If you look at these last 3 practices, it's like the day Ward has been there, the DB's been really good, and he had a big pass deflection in that practice, whereas when he has been out there, they've kind of feasted on them. I guess we should say Spencer Schrader is probably the overwhelming leader right now in the kicker battle. Brian Mason did share those numbers after practice, like 87% to 74, him and Maddox Truijo. So,
is that the right pronunciation? Did we get that correct?
I don't know.
We need to ask Matt Taylor.
Yeah, I know. I was like, okay, is it Joe Bocci? Is it Joe Bacci? Bocci on
like the ball.
Yes, exactly. Like the ball. I thought the quarterbacks bounced back yesterday. Now, again, you're down 3 or 4 quarterbacks. I had them both 10 of 14. I thought it was Riley Leonard's best day of work. That's probably not saying a whole lot. He's been largely inaccurate through this camp, but he was slinging that like it was, the second half of the Ohio State game there for a while. And again, Latu in that D-line, very disruptive from both sides of the line. I will say, Eddie, I didn't think we walk into camp with this being a position battle, but I would say that, like, it now might be one of my eyes, and that is Jalen Carlisle's starting job next to Zaire Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
When you were out there on Saturday, Carlisle was doing second teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
And then yesterday he didn't practice. So I just think with how a guy like Joe Bocci has played, Cam McGrone's been in the mix.
And the familiarity between Bocci and Anarumo.
Anarumo, correct. Yeah, it's a great point. I don't know. That's one that, if I could use whiteout, do they still use whiteout? Do kids still do the whiteout thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Whiteout, the old Sharpie that you might have had there on Carlisle. So, and again, he missed all the spring with his own shoulder situation and recovering from that. So, as we start to look ahead to joint practices, preseason games, okay, what are we watching for? Linebacker is one that has heavy watching for me. And it's kind of 3 levels, Eddie. One is that spot. Is that starting job up for grabs? 2 is Zaire Franklin's overall look. 7-on-7 yesterday. We're still awaiting 11-on-11. You can look at the Franklin thing half full or half empty. Half full says, oh, he's never been hurt. He'll be fine. Well, half empty says he's never missed 3 months in the NFL. He's never had a surgery in the NFL. He's nearing 30. How does he react to having this missed time? And then the third layer to it would just be the overall depth in that room, which I think is a question we've had now for a while. The other thing, unfortunately, from yesterday's practice was just the ugly scene that we saw injury-wise.
Savon Ahmed.
Yeah. And it was probably one of the more jarring, eerie scenes I've seen. It was reminiscent of DeReese Fountain a few years ago. I believe it was against the Browns in a joint practice. But I guess just to kind of set the scene for everybody, Shane Steichen has done this, I'd say, a handful of times throughout camp, in that he has allowed a full tackling period with the third unit. And on the play, Ahmed breaks one, and he's running down the sideline, and you see Trey Washington, the undrafted free agent out of Ole Miss, jump kind of on his back from behind, and I would say Washington kind of was almost riding him for probably 5 to 6 yards. And it was one of those moments, Eddie, where it started to get, like, I like to watch plays like 20 or 30 yards ahead, just to kind of get a little lay of land. So by this point, the play was right in front of me. And I remember, as like Washington was kind of pulling against him to slow him down, I remember thinking to myself, oh my, it's about to be a hip drop moment. Like, it had gotten to that point of the play of, like, is Washington going to let up?
Mm-hmm.
Or is Ahmed just naturally going to go down? Like, this is not, it's one of those awkward periods right now of where it could really get ugly. And unfortunately, it did. Whereas Washington tries to complete the tackle, and I say that in quotes, and it looked, and again, I haven't watched the replay, nor I don't even know if it's out there, but watching it live, it certainly looked like the definition of a hip drop. And as soon as he went down, you just knew. And the field got very quiet very quickly, and the only thing you heard was him screaming. And it was, again, one of the more eerie scenes I've seen on a practice field. And, very quickly, everybody's on a knee on the field, and, players are, circling around, and I think Cam Bynum led them in prayer. It did look like Chris Ballard went over to Trey Washington pretty quickly right after the play. I assume some sort of consoling to him because he was clearly pretty shooken up. And, I thought Zaire Franklin had some pretty profound words after practice in describing that play from both sides of it. Ahmed, you feel for him big time. He isn't getting up there in age as a running back.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of been a journeyman. He was on the practice squad last year. He probably realizes what any injury means for a running back of that age. And then in Washington's case, it's a live tackling period. He's an undrafted free agent. You're trying to show hustle. You're trying to do anything and everything. So I can sit, when you watch it live, sure, the reaction is, I'll cut his ass. That's the natural raw reaction. There's some fans in the stands that even reacted to him. And yes, would you like to think he knows that better? But you know how the college game is. In the college game, plays like that are allowed. The NFL game, it's not. And honestly, I thought of the Nick Cross play last year in camp when he tackled Josh Downs from behind, and it cost Josh Downs a month plus.
Yeah.
And, when you think about that play, Eddie, that was not in a live tackling period. And Nick Cross has been in the league for 3 years, I guess. And so, that one, you could almost make the argument like, there should have been, I guess, more punishment because you aren't supposed to be taking anybody to the ground. Whereas like Washington, you were allowed to take Ahmed to the ground, obviously not in the manner that he did.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just awful. Just an awful scene for both. And obviously Ahmed more because, the leg looked awful and boom, it's the air cast and it's stretchered off. And next thing you know, you see the ambulance going across 191st Street and all of it there. So certainly some thoughts with him. I thought it was one of the more subdued Shane Steichen post-practice opening statements that he's had there. So, I wanted to make sure that we mentioned that. Anything else, Eddie, from over the weekend or the last couple of days of camp you wanted to get to before? We will play Kenny Moore the second. We caught up with him on move-in day, and I still think it's relatively timeless. So we'll play that here for you upcoming.
AD Mitchell has had a good second week last week of practices. It felt like compared to the opening week.
Yeah, I would agree. The opening week was a struggle. The hands weren't working. I think I'm using AD Mitchell's words with that. And then he's kind of taken steps this past week. First it was the one-on-one cooking of Travarius Ward. Then it was some 7-on-7 stuff. Then Thursday night, it was the 11-on-11.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's the thing. Like, I want to watch him this Thursday night against Baltimore.
Yeah. Because
it's the team set. He is one of the best one-on-one wideouts I've ever seen in a camp setting. To me, it's more of when timing becomes premium and there's 10 other offensive players and 10 other defensive players in the field, can you prove to be reliable for your quarterback?
Yeah.
He said something to that effect the other day of like, I've got to get right with the QBs. I think that's kind of his way of saying, I haven't been on the same page with them.
Mm-hmm.
And, how do I go about that? So
I thought he also was a little, open. He goes, yeah, I get open different than the other guys. Like, sure. I use tempo and I use speed to generate,
right.
separation. I don't use
He's
whatever
different,
it is.
And it's in a good way to create separation. I mean, he gets open, but I understand while there is some timing differences. I'll be obviously very interested to how much playing time the starters get on Thursday. It sounds like the plan with quarterback is both will play, and one guy will take the majority of them Thursday, and the other guy will take the majority of them against Green Bay. So, and that makes sense. I think when you have the 3 preseason games, and then maybe after that, you make a decision one way or the other. It didn't sound like he was as open as playing the starting defense as I would like to see. Shane Steichen he didn't have much urgency in describing the need to play the starting defense too much. So
is that because they have the joint practice tomorrow, Tuesday, against Baltimore?
yeah, but you only have 2. In a lot of these years, you've had 3 or even 4.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a fair question, Eddie, but I don't. You hear coaches oftentimes saying, well, they're not going to play their starters, so we're not going to play ours. I'm like, well, they're the Super Bowl favorite. You're not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not apples to apples. They've had Lamar Jackson for 7 years now. Like, it's not like that to me is not comparable, really. So I get that guys get hurt and, you never know what can happen, but I'd like to see the starters play a little bit more. But it sounds like on that side of the ball, it will not happen there. Unless you got anything else to add, Eddie, let's do a little Kenny Moore action. This was from, again, Moving Day, Colts training camp. Some big picture combo here. The man on the side of the building, a great story, Kenny Moore II. Kenny Moore II, year 9, Kenny? Do I have that right?
Where are we? Where's the time going?
We might have to dump that one, Mark. How's the body?
The body's great. Body's great.
How much is training different for you? Like June, July, when you hit summer vacation, what did it look like in 2017, 2018? What does it look like now, 2025?
I think just as a young player in the league, you were just trying to figure out what exactly my body need, where do I want to go, as far as, how does my body feel? I think I was feeling worse during that time of 2017. I mean, it sounds crazy, but, you're going straight from college to the draft to, obviously the combine and everything, straight to OTAs, mini camps and all that stuff. So didn't really get much of a break, but obviously year 9, I've got some breaks after the season, spring training, and then you get another break after that. So over the years, I began to learn what exactly I need from my body to be ready for day 1 of training camp.
Kenny, what's the biggest difference or growth you've kind of seen in yourself from, being undrafted till year 9 and, earning a couple contracts? Like, what's been the biggest overall lesson that you've kind of taken away from this game so far?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think the first thing that popped into my head was management and managing my mental, my physical, my emotional. And, every year you play in the league or every year that kind of goes by, you begin to know more people, you begin to do more stuff, you gain more interest, you find out what I like and dislike. So I think managing all those things to make sure you can go back out and perform at a high level and make sure you can go out and delegate all this time to other people, the family, yourself. The balance, the management of all those things is very important. So I think for me personally, the management space of my life has been definitely most important.
Along those lines of having like other responsibilities, I know you're involved with the NFLPA as far as the Colts and things like that. How much do you pay attention to what happened this offseason as far as the reports that they were colluding to not give you all guaranteed contracts and things of that nature?
Well, those are things that I'm still learning about. I think those are just ongoing things. Like every week, it's kind of something new coming out. So we'll get to the bottom of it with time. But I'm just not learning about those things in the last couple of weeks or so. It's not nothing that I was already aware of in years prior of this one. So I think it's news to everybody. I think business is crazy, obviously, and there's a lot of money that goes into a lot of things around here. And so, that's all I have to say about it.
It's a hell of a story. Undrafted free agent Kenny Moore II has had a great NFL career, and it's year 9 upcoming here for the Colts. He joins us here live at Grand Park. Kenny, what's left on the individual, I don't know if you're a big goal guy, but on the individual list for you to achieve in your NFL career?
The ring. Sorry, I keep cursing. I think that, left to achieve. Look, the game doesn't owe me anything. It doesn't owe me anything. I just keep working hard. That's it. That's what I owe to myself is hard work. And I got to be. That's all I'm responsible of. That's all I can control is how I approach the game. I truly believe if you love the game, it'll love you back. And I don't want to write myself short or just say I've already done what I was supposed to do. But look, I'm 9 years in. I feel great. My family is happy, and I just feel like I'm winning. I wasn't supposed to be here year 9. I was going into 2 weeks at New England, and I thought I was going to be erased. I thought I was going to be back in Valdosta. I was 2 weeks as a Colt, and I thought I was going to be back in Valdosta from special teams, penalties, and all that BS. So I'm here now, and I feel like I don't know. I kind of own everything that has happened in my career. It's been a great movie so far. So I'm looking forward to channeling everything that I have in me to have a great 9th year in the league. It's kind of crazy to keep saying that, but I'm having a lot of fun. I just really want to win.
You just used the word proactive to describe how you think this defense will be.
Mm-hmm.
Could you expand on that?
Preparation, knowing who you're going against, having a plan, and easily adaptable.
And then, Kenny, to kind of piggyback off what you were saying over here on the other side of the tent when it comes to trying to become a top 5 defense, with the pieces that you all have, the talent you all have on this roster, Lou Anarumo coming in, you talked about winning, off the field and having so much success individually in your career. But as you go into year 9 and kind of knowing, okay, I don't know if I'll play another 9 after this, what's the desire level to just, again, like you said, not be erased and have something that you can look back on and be like, okay, well, this was this year or 2 years or whatever, how many years, we really had something special and we went and did something special?
I don't know. I just feel like my approach to the game is always different. A lot of people weigh their careers off of wins and losses, if I had a ring or not. But I've always approached the game, since my senior year of high school I played this game to have fun. My high school is really good. I saw them winning a lot, even though we got beat first round of playoffs. We had a lot of fun that season, and that kind of transitioned into playing Division II football. I went to a really good program who had just won a national title, and I met a lot of great people, had a lot of great teammates over there in Valdosta State, had a lot of great coaches every single year, had a new defensive system every single year, but somehow we were able to, have some fun, and that just kept me in it, man. That just kept me in it. If it was too much, rah-rah and, like, we got to do this, like, then I would have fell out of love with football a long time ago. And then over here in Indianapolis, like, of course, we definitely want to win. We definitely have a lot to owe to the city of Indianapolis, and we want to get that accomplished. But I've had a lot of fun here in Indy, and honestly, we got to figure out how to have even more fun this year. We got to have fun from the jump. And me individually, that's how I stay in it. That's why, the dances come out, all the handshakes and stuff, because that's the little boy in me that's what I always loved about ball, was the dancing, the camaraderie, the partying on a plane. Those are the things that I like to talk about. I don't talk about, third down, like, at the end of this game I did this, like that. Like, that's cool at an appearance or something like that, but, like, if I'm in the backyard with the guys, I'm talking about jumping up with DeForest, after his sack. Like, those are cool moments for me, because that's the little boy. That's what I always saw the game of football as. And so, like the way they talked about Mr. Ursay and how he was the owner, and he led the organization as his little boy self, like putting the pads on, taking pictures with the guys. Like, that meant a lot to me because that's the same vision that I have for football. That's what I see. And I don't want to ramble on, but that's just my approach. That's why I play the game, is to have fun.
It's a kid's game, right?
It is.
Kenny Moore II with us here. A couple more minutes. We appreciate your time on this report day. We heard some of the members of the coaching staff single out rookie Justin Wally in the spring. Your early impressions of the third-round corner out of Minnesota?
My early impressions, I think he has everything. He has what it takes to play in this game a long time. He loves football. I can see that. He knows how to play football, and he has the instincts and awareness to be a great player. His ceiling is really high. If I was to pick two guys that I'm really high on, let's say three, that I'm really high on is Adonai Mitchell, Wally, and I really do like Pierce. Yeah, not just because I go against those guys.
I was going to say, like,
but it was two offensive and one defense.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. And I guess to that point, what stands out to you about A.D. Mitchell? And we get it. Like last year, and he's admitted, like, hey, I had to learn how to be a pro. Or
I mean, it is what it is.
Things,
like,
but
yeah,
when you line up against this guy in practice,
he has it. I'm saying, like, potential and tool wise, like, he has the tools. Like, I'm excited for him.
What we have Josh Downs join us here in a few
I knew
minutes,
this was coming.
and I think when we talk good on good out here, there might not be a better matchup than when you two go against each other one-on-ones. If we go best out of 7,
yeah, that's opinionated.
Would you agree with that or no?
If it's the best matchup, I'm not sure.
Best out of 7, you, Josh Downs, one-on-one.
We're going to find out here in training camp.
You think Josh will answer it?
I'm not sure.
We'll end with this. You look like a very busy man this offseason, and feel free to fill in any gaps.
Yeah.
You're over in Germany for the draft.
Yep.
Did you do a little Brewers spring training? Did I see that?
I did. Yeah, I got a buddy that I grew up with. He's a pitcher for them.
What was the best thing you did?
His name D.O. Hall.
This offseason?
The best thing I did this offseason or with the Brewers spring training?
Well, I mean, feel free to share about the Brewers spring training experience, but
I mean, look, I just love sports. Like, it's just a little boy in me. And so I went out there and I tried to get some batting practice, in the cages and stuff. And I was already a little nervous because when you walk in there and you hear how fast, those pitchers are going, you're just like, all right, this got to be the hardest thing in sports is hitting.
Good for you for even stepping in the cage, man.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Between us. And so they got this machine called the traject. And on the traject, you can put up any pitcher and you can put any pitch, any speed, whatever you want. So on the traject, it's this entire screen. And it's digital. The pitcher actually shows up on this thing. So you think you're in the park. And so as soon as he's about to release the ball, the pitch just comes out of this machine. And we put up Paul Skeens. And shout out to Paul Skeens. I could not put a ball in play. But
what was mile per hour?
I mean, it was like 89, mid-90s. All type of pitches. And I made contact, but they were all foul balls.
Hey,
I got to try
I'm
it
about
again.
to say, at least you made some contact.
Yeah, that was our first time. I'm usually better off the second time I do stuff. But, yeah.
If you could be a pro athlete in any other sport, what would it be?
That's tough. That's tough. That's tough. I don't know. Formula One is pretty cool. But it's something about soccer. English Premier League striker. That's me.
Look at that.
Yeah.
See, spoken like somebody that was naturally good at probably every sport growing up.
I feel like one day I was walking back to the media center over here, and I look over, and weren't you kicking with the Indy 11 over there at one
I
point?
did that a couple of years, yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I can say about Kenny Summer, really, whenever I see his social media posts, I'm like, he just be doing stuff.
I just do.
Yeah.
That's the little boy in me, I'm telling you.
I'm like watching the draft. I'm like, there's Bjorn Werner. Oh, wait, there's Kenny Moore.
I wasn't even supposed – I didn't even think I was going to be doing that, to be honest. I just went over there to do some American football academies. Mm-hmm. That's all. That's why I went over there, is to do football clinics and to further their game in American football. As we're trying to, make this whole thing international and stuff like that. Our market is Germany, and we just expanded our markets too to Switzerland and Austria. But I just wanted to go over there to Germany and tap into the market and have some fun doing football. And that opportunity came up, so we did it.
All right, last thing. I lied. Greatly appreciate your time. Driving by Lucas Oil Stadium, what does that mean to see you on the side of that building?
That'll never become normal to me. I'm a graphics guy. I studied mass media and communication arts in college. Whenever I was there present, shout out to VSU. So that whole area is like That's just what I love. I love graphics. I just love. I don't know. That's an achievement as it is. You know, driving by that thing. I live downtown, so my family always take a picture of that every time they see it, and that'll never grow old to me. So I greatly appreciate the Colts doing that.
Thank you to number 23. Thank you to Kenny. Really one of the great stories in Colts history, period. And obviously it was with New England first, and then came here in that roster cut down period in 2017, and the rest is history. And his playmaking has been definitely seen in camp. He just kind of reminds yourself every few days of like, oh yeah, there he is, still playing really good football. So thank you to Kenny Moore II for that.
I didn't realize he had such a potty mouth, Kevin.
He did have a couple cuss times.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think 3 of them.
I know, which I appreciate. Like, it's not, he kind of felt casual. The thing with Kenny is like he doesn't have a very consistent speaking cadence. Like some people you like know when they're done talking.
Mm-hmm.
With Kenny is like, wait, is he done or not? And then he just keeps going.
Mm-hmm.
But
he's very well thought out when he speaks.
But I think he's turned into an important voice for the players, certainly, and for the franchise. So thank you to Kenny Moore II for that.
Kevin, with the start of the season nearing, that means it's almost time for us to start planning for the Fantasy Football League, right?
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about this. Yes. Yes. Okay, should we talk about this?
Yes. We'll talk about this off the air,
okay.
But just wanted to tease that so our listeners know it's coming.
I know, and we've rewarded like fast fingers oftentimes with spots. I'm open to any suggestions on, obviously we want to reward our listeners, and we love the Fantasy League and we enjoy doing the draft, but maybe, I don't know, a little twist on that. We could think about that. And you know me, I mean, I think you and I speak on the same page of this. That first week of September is when we'll do the draft.
Yes.
Nothing earlier.
Nope.
On that. Way too much drama on the NFL can happen in a month. So, yes, that is a good thing to put on the radar.
And I can't wait, Kevin. I know we're already getting the tweets of, as you mentioned, the or on the starting quarterback. I can't wait for the national media. Oh, look, it's Daniel Jones with the ones. He gets the start against Baltimore.
Do you think that matters? Like Thursday's starter?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I am kind of with you. James Boyd, I think he was on the opposite when him and I chatted about that this morning.
Let me ask you this. Is it more telling on who gets the start in the joint practice tomorrow than it is the preseason game? Because
I know
it'll be 1v1s.
The weird thing they've done with the starting reps so far in camp, whoever is the starter usually gets the least amount of reps that day with the starting unit. Which is kind of odd. You don't typically think of it like that, but that's kind of how I want to say yesterday Jones started, for example, and then Richardson got one more starting period than Jones did. Or maybe that was Saturday. I don't know. They all run together at this point, but try to keep track in the notebook settings. So, no, I mean, I think at this point, like, kicker's a lead. Like, center, Tanner Bortolini seems to have taken a little bit of a lead here the last few days.
Mm-hmm.
Quarterback, I mean, it has been a 50-50 split. I would think Richardson has a slight lead, but...
And obviously you've got Justin Wally opposite of Javarius Ward because of the injuries to Juju Brents and Jalen Jones.
And even before that, he was the guy, and he certainly has been that so far.
Are you ready for Twitter questions?
Let's do it.
5 questions to get to on today's edition of Colts Corner, starting with Josh. The Colts should go after Terry McLaurin, right? Or do you think the price will be too much to pay? And this is me asking this question, Kev, in connection to this question from Josh. Would we be talking about Terry McLaurin if he wasn't a Cathedral High School graduate?
I would like to think we wouldn't have our Indy bias that high. I mean, he's been a very good player here in the NFL. A lot of McLaurin, a lot of Michael Parsons, and I totally understand all of those questions. But I would say this, where I'm kind of at right now with those sorts of moves is when you don't have the long-term answer at quarterback. As much as people want to play the video game,
mm-hmm.
I think all of these sorts of ideas are frozen.
Especially for Micah Parsons because, I mean, you saw what Adam Schefter highlighted.
The compensation would be through the roof.
What Chicago got for Khalil Mack.
Yeah. So the compensation for the two is different. Now, for Terry McLaurin, I still think it would involve a notable draft pick. And that's what you have to play out in your head. Hey, we're going to trade whatever. Let's say a second for Terry McLaurin. And let's say you go 9-8 as a football team. So now you're drafting 18th overall. if you're going 9-8, you probably don't have a clear answer at quarterback, I would say.
Mm-mm.
And you don't have your second round pick. So what are you doing? You just sitting there?
And you got to pay him $30 million a year because that's what he wants.
Yeah, it just, yeah. And so that means you're not drafting one in 2026. And you're also, obviously, like you said, paying him, Terry McLaurin, that type of money. So
at age 30 as well.
I just don't think you can entertain this stuff. On the McLaurin front, I'm fascinated to see how the 30-year-old wideout plays out. Because Michael Pittman Jr. is going to be in a kind of a similar boat next year with not as impressive as an individual resume as Terry McLaurin. This gets into the debate of I think a real debate fans need to start to pay attention to is, would you rather have Alec Pierce long-term or Michael Pittman Jr.?
Yeah.
I think that is a very real conversation that you have to have. So, Josh, I understand the question. He's a really good player. I also think the Colts, this is the best they felt about their wideout group in years. And I get why they feel this good about it. I kind of agree with them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do I think he would upgrade that position even more? Yes. But I just think these sorts of moves, given the state of your franchise, you're largely frozen. And it's I know the NBA and the NFL is the perfect analogy, Eddie, but it's once the Pacers got Halliburton, then when the ideal of Siakam becomes available, you can do that.
Oh, yeah.
But until you get Halliburton, I don't think you can give up 3 firsts for Pascal Siakam.
No.
But so it's once you get that in place, then I think you can go ahead and entertain some of this thought and move more of the chips into the middle. But until you have quarterback, and I know next year's a great draft class for quarterback and all of that, but again, just look at Buffalo with the Allen draft. They went from 21 to 12, then they went from 12 to 7. You have to be in a position to do that if you need to. And they felt the need to do that, and obviously they're reaping the benefits of it.
Tyler and Terry looped together. What is the likelihood that Alec Pierce is in a Colts uniform next year? I get the vibe he will command a pretty significant contract on the open market and just don't know if the Colts can afford to keep him, especially with Josh Downs' contract coming up in a few years as well. Perhaps they're waiting to see if A.D. Mitchell can show more consistency before making any decisions. Also, for us golf fans out there, and I hope this is tongue-in-cheek for whomever included this, which one of you, it's Tyler or Terry, especially Eddie, what's in Kevin's golf bag for the 2025 season? Thanks as always for the top-tier content.
Let's go. This is great. This is sent from my burner, actually. We love to have the Mizuno clubs in the golf bag here. We got a golf outing coming up on Thursday, Eddie.
That's right.
Down at the Legends.
That is right.
To see some listeners out there for that.
Now, those are new clubs, right? The Mizunos?
Yes, second year with them. Yeah, it says, yes, love them. So thank you. I believe Mizuno is going to be at the golf outing coming up.
Wow, look at that.
On Thursday as well. So looking forward to that down there at the Legends in Franklin. Bob Knight, old stomping grounds with his course. Likelihood of Pierce in a Colts uniform. Boy, I think it's a great debate. And again, this is a question I actually threw Rick Venturi's way. We had Rick Venturi, Colts radio analyst, on our show last week, and he spoke from a defensive coordinator standpoint. And he goes, when I think about the future of Pierce, when I think about the future of Pittman, I'm met with, who do I fear more? And the answer to that's Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
What's easier to find, Eddie? Is it easier to find elite, deep ball playmaking receivers, or is it easier to find guys that hit a lot of singles?
Guys that hit a lot of singles, unfortunately.
There's no way to say that without it sounding like a shot at Pittman. And I've probably always been a little bit more of a Pittman guy than most.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought last year he had a fine season with the back. He played through a ton and still was, hell, if he was a little healthier, he probably would have been over 1,000 yards. So, the thing about A.D. Mitchell is he's not really either of them. It'd be one thing of Anthony Gould's had a great training camp so far. It'd be one thing of you're like, oh yeah, Anthony Gould, he's the actual slot, just like Josh Downs. But Mitchell's not really Pierce and he's not really Pittman.
No.
So it's just kind of hard to look at the wide receiver position and say, well, yeah, I guess theoretically one of those two will go, and then, Mitchell would slide in that role. But again, it's not exactly the like-minded player. But still, having said that, I think there's part of me that definitely leans towards Pierce. And Pittman stands for so much of what you want to be about with his toughness and all of that. But if Pierce can take another step, the underneath stuff, he's also going to command a whole lot on the open market, I think, interest-wise. That franchise tag could be used.
You think so?
Franchise tag it up. You tell Pittman to play in a contract year and see what happens. Again, that's how Pittman's kind of viewed this year as a contract year for him. He said that when he signed the extension. The reason why he signed a 3-year extension was to get to that open market one more time, like Terry McLaurin is, and we're seeing how it's all playing out there. So it's a great question. Obviously, this year will have some impact on it, certainly, but Pierce's ability to hit those home runs is just a rare gift. You watch Pierce, and anytime they chuck a deep ball to him in camp, he is just, his ability to locate the ball 30 yards down the field is such a unique trait.
So this season, the non-exclusive franchise tag was $25,693,000.
Yeah, he's getting north of 20.
Well, and it's going to go up because you've got Jamar Chase getting paid.
I know. It sounds like a ludicrous thought, too. But you just try to push that down a little bit further down the line, and then maybe you say, well, that's stupid because, then you're going to have to pay him even more if and when you do, cross that bridge. So it's a very interesting state of the wide receiver position, but I think it's also a good position, and the Colts haven't been that in a while.
3 questions left. Josh is up next. Any chance Mo Alley Cox doesn't make the 53-man roster? Doesn't seem like his contract would be a massive hit if the Colts cut him, and Josh would rather hang on to more corner depth with Will Mallory starting to flash.
Yeah, I feel like this is an annual question, Eddie. Like we've had this for 5 straight off seasons. Will Mo Alley Cox make the team? To me, tight end looks pretty easy right now. Don't you just keep 4?
Yeah, it seems like pretty easy compared to some of the other position groups.
Tyler Warren, Mo Alley Cox, Drew Ogletree, Will Mallory. Mallory would also tell you this. I don't know, he'll be as blunt as I am, but blocking's an issue. Mo Alley Cox is not a bad blocker.
No.
So every team has a Mo Alley Cox. I guess is what I'm trying to get at, too. Every team has a dude that just doesn't catch and blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And if all the injuries happen, he'd go play left tackle. He would be the 3rd tackle on a game, or the 5th tackle, I should say, on a game day. So, I understand we get into this debate a lot. I guess the thought is, do you keep 3 or 4 tight ends? They've always kind of been a 4 tight end team, so I assume they will. And that's why it gets back to Jelani Woods thing. I'm hard pressed to find where Jelani Woods fits into the puzzle.
Trevor is next. How would you feel, Kevin, if the Colts opted to not play any of their starters at all during preseason to prevent injuries? Trevor says, I know Sean McVay is known to not play his starters at all.
Yeah, Trevor, obviously injuries are injuries. And, I've watched Samson Ebukam rip an Achilles during practice. I get the contact. You probably lead to more injuries. I don't know, Eddie. I'd be hard-pressed to remember the last time the Colts had a starter get hurt in a preseason game. I can't think of many. And you bring up Sean McVay. I brought up Baltimore earlier. Every team is different. Matthew Stafford's been slinging it a whole long time.
Uh-huh.
That's different than Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones.
By the way, he hasn't practiced yet.
Correct, yeah, that back injury. I think Colts playing week 4 maybe, something like that. I think they have Houston week 1 too. Yeah, by the way, Miami looks so banged up already for week 1. I saw Austin Jackson, their right tackle, is going to miss a lot of time.
They've already had 2 corners go down.
Yeah, their DB room, definitely. Jalen Phillips got banged up. So we're all afraid of injuries. I get it.
He's coming off an ACL or an Achilles.
Played against the Colts last year. So I understand it, but, man, when you've had the week 1 struggles, when you're incorporating a new defense, when you've had the quarterback play that you've had, I just think you need to be out there. And I don't care if they're playing their starters or not. That's how I view it. And I think if I were to rank the schedule right now outside of the Houston games, I think the 2 most important games are right there, Miami and Denver.
Yeah.
I put those 3 and 4 on the list. So I am a proponent of playing your starters more in the preseason, generally than most, especially for this state of the Colts. You're not a team. You're involving a new defensive coordinator. You're involving a new quarterback, if you want to call him Daniel Jones, whatever you want to call Richardson, that's new. I think you could make a strong case that the Colts should play their starters more than any team in the league in the preseason. based off all that newness. Do you run the risk for some injury? Sure, I guess you do. Now, you play Thursday night. That's a month out from the regular season opener.
Yeah.
So a guy getting hurt, if it's ankle, whatever, 2 weeks, boom, he can be back. Even that final preseason game, you're still, I think, 2 weeks and a day out at Cincinnati game from the opener. But this might be week 1 PTSD. But yeah, I'd be playing him.
We conclude Twitter questions with Will. Kevin, you have to pick one. Who do you want to start for the Colts under center? Not who you think will start. As a fan, who do you want? Will is sitting here after watching all the inconsistencies, all the BS that has come with Anthony Richardson, and yet Will is so fired up to see him take snaps in a game setting versus Daniel Jones. Screw the floor being higher than Daniel Jones. Will wants the chance at the higher ceiling.
Will, thank you for the question. I think I shared this before. Eddie, a few weeks ago on our morning show, we did a Twitter poll. Who do you want? Because we had someone in our YouTube chat say they want Daniel Jones to start. I was like, that's interesting. I wonder what that pool of fans looks like. And I want to say the poll ended at like 85% wanted Jones, 85% wanted Richardson, 15% wanted Jones. You were out there Saturday. I can't recall if Saturday was one of those days, but in many days of practice when Richardson is taking the starting reps, the crowd's just much, much louder than they are when it's time for Jones to take those starting reps. So, Will points to the high ceiling. And that is a huge part of, I think, why I would agree with Will on that. But even if you aren't there, I say it gets you one step closer to the final answer on him. So either you finally break up with him or you don't. Finally move on or commit. And I also am curious, what did the healthy offseason do? Again, 9 days into camp, to go back to the eye doctor analogy, I guarantee you, if you splice together clips from his first 9 practices in 2023, 2024, and now 2025, if Dr. Deborah Mann said to me, Kevin, read that for me with one spoon over the left eye, APSO would read the clearest in 2025.
That's actually one of your better ones. Nice job.
Thank you. I really haven't had a lot of good ones, so that felt good. Did the healthy offseason do anything? So all 3 of those boxes, yes, the high ceiling, sure. Boom, get closer to the final answer. And then lastly, did the healthy offseason do anything? Now, having said all that, I will continue to beat this drum. I think Shane Steichen is much more willing to play Daniel Jones than most people think or want to admit.
It's time to win. Got to see some results.
And I'm over here shrugging my shoulders. Like, I hear you say that, and I'm like, well, it's hard to totally argue against that.
I mean, it's year 3 for him, new ownership.
Now, again,
new
what
mindset.
Is the best way to win? When you say win, I'm saying it in all caps. Win a division title. Win a playoff game. And to me, you need the higher potential quarterback. To me, I know yards per attempt isn't everything, but the yards per attempt numbers, it can oftentimes be a key metric. I mean, it's pretty drastic how much better Richardson is yards per attempt than Jones.
Yep.
So, can you win with dink and dunk? Can you win with conservative? I find it ironic, Eddie, we sit here 9 days into camp. The one true deep ball Daniel Jones has thrown came on an offsides penalty Thursday night when everyone's yelling free play. And he chucks it down the field, and there's A.D. Mitchell. And it's not like his arm's shot. It's not like he can't throw it down the field. So, yes, Will, I am in the camp of Richardson should be the starter. But again, that's my opinion. I have to look at things through 2 different lenses. My thoughts, but also how I think the Colts are viewing it. And I just think it's a lot realer.
By the way,
especially in Steichen's eyes.
So Will says under center. Are we going to, hardly anyone goes under center anymore. It feels like they're always out of the gun. Are we ever going to get a changing of the terminology there?
Yeah, that is a good question. Yeah. I don't know how that's going to operate, but yeah. I guess now it's all right, 3-step, 5-step drop here, and sooner or later it's probably going to look a whole lot more like 7-on-7. All right, he's Eddie Garrison. I'm Kevin Bowen. Thank you for listening to Colts Corner with myself and Eddie, and we will be back, I don't know, maybe Friday morning? I don't know.
So we got, Colts have joint practice with Baltimore on Tuesday, and then They play Thursday night and then practice Saturday and Sunday.
Should we do a little 10 a.m.er on Friday morning?
Probably
That works
should.
for you? He's Eddie Garrison. I'm Kevin Bowen. Everybody have a great week. We'll talk to you later.